Hello, and welcome to the Intuitive Rising podcast. I am so glad you're here. I'm your host, Amy Brookes, and up until about 5 years ago, I was just your average mom of 3. It was after the sudden loss of my father that my life changed forever, and the rising within me began. In this podcast, we will talk all things spiritual and healing through a very grounded and relatable approach. I hope you'll join me, remembering who you always were as we rise together. Hello, I'm Amy Brookes. I'm the host of the Intuitive Rising podcast. I'm an evidential psychic medium. I am a past life reader, a higher self channel. I have been doing this work professionally with an international client base for 4 years now. This is my second podcast, but my first solo podcast. I also co-host a podcast called Soul Rising with a dear friend and fellow medium, and we put out weekly episodes. We've been doing so for a little over a year. If you're finding me from that podcast and you're hopping over to this one so that you can get a little bit more, welcome. If you are new to me, welcome to you as well. And just extending the invite in case you're interested in listening to Soul Rising. There's a lot of banter and witty, and it's very conversationalist, where Erin and I kind of share about, what we're learning, what's going on with our lives. This podcast is going to be really focused on spirituality, obviously, but from a storytelling lens. So I've discovered over the last couple of years that I am a storyteller, and I love to share and I love to hear stories. And I think it's important when you're doing this kind of deep inner work of getting to know yourself and really kind of stripping away from everything we've been conditioned and taught to seek outside of us constantly. This is all about going in, right? And I feel like that journey can feel isolating at times, especially in the world we live in, right? In the climate, the economic climate, societal views. Things are getting better, certainly, but there's still a feeling of some of us don't fully feel like we can kind of be out of the shadows just yet. And so there's an isolating quality to this work and this inner deep work. And a lot of people in our lives, and maybe in your life, just doesn't get it. And so I feel it's important for me to share my story and to share, anonymously different client stories and things that come in from my guides or from source, collective consciousness. What is coming in and how can it help you? I feel like it's really important for me to be really real and raw here. So I'm going to let the emotions flow if the emotions want to flow. If I want to say a swear word or a curse, I might, if the moment fits. This is not going to be scripted. It's very unedited. I'm just going to let it flow. And that actually is part of my healing, part of the work that I'm doing, and this fear of being seen and heard, and that my voice doesn't matter. That's the lie that I've carried around for so long, and I am dispelling it. I'm breaking it apart every single time I put myself out there and I speak my truth. So part of the healing around that is in allowing myself to be unscripted, to be spontaneous, and to be real and raw. Now, you're not going to find a whole lot of editing here. If I, say something wrong, I'll just correct myself, right? That if somebody interrupts, the doorbell rings, whatever, it's real life. That's what I'm going to give you. That's my promise to you. I'm always going to be real, always going to be truthful. I cannot wait for you to listen to episode 1 and all the ones to come. I am so glad you're here. If you're interested, I have created a private Facebook group called the Intuitive Rising Community. And I created it to be a part, like a sister kind of community to this podcast, a place for my listeners to go. So it's about 2 months old now. There's about 100 people in there already, even before the podcast is launched. it's very safe and inclusive, and it's all like-minded people that are on the same journey as you, and I just love where it's going. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you want that community, it's called the Intuitive Rising Community. It's on Facebook. It is by invite only, so just request to join, and as long as you are a real person and not some bot, I will let you in. Okay? I'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. Bye. Thank you for joining me for another episode here of the Intuitive Rising podcast. If you would like to continue the chats and join the community, please join us over on Facebook and search for the Intuitive Rising community. All are welcome. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider giving it a 5-star rating. If you'd like to connect with me directly, please visit my website at theintuitiverising.com.